So we have discussed about the super keyword. So super keyword is used to call the superclass constructor or superclass variables or superclass methods. Okay, so that was like three uses of the super keyword. Okay, now one more thing just remaining about the super keyword is that, see here, let's suppose here I have the class A. Okay, inside this class A I have the A class constructor, which is parameterized constructor. Then we have another class B, which is extending this A class. Inside this B class also we have one parameterized constructor of the B class. Okay, and now here we are using the super keyword. Here we have called the super class parameterized constructor. Okay, and then we are printing something. Now when we create the object of the B class, okay, by passing one argument, that time it will call the constructor which is having one parameter. Okay, now inside this class B we have this constructor, so call will come here. Now we have used the super here, so it will check or it will go to the constructor of the super class which is having one parameter of type integer. Now we have this constructor, so a class param constructor will get printed, and after that B class param constructor will get printed. Okay, so till now it's everything is clear to you. Now only one thing which was remaining is that what is the position of this super keyword. See here, every time you need to remember that the super will be always in the first line of your constructor. Okay, let's suppose if you are removing this, okay, and what is the error? Okay, here I think we should, if we have the parameterized constructor, then if you don't have any super keyword, then automatically it will add the default super keyword, right? And this default super keyword will look for the default constructor of the parent class. So here we should have the default constructor if we want to remove this error. Okay, now let me remove this super. Okay, if we go above, see here, inside this B parameterized constructor I have not returned the super. Okay, so by default compiler will add that super keyword as a first line, but if you try to add the super anywhere else, then you will get the error. And what is the error? See here, call to the super must be first statement in the constructor body. So this is one statement you must know, that the super call will be always as a first statement in the constructor. Okay, you cannot write it on any other position like second line or maybe somewhere else. You always need to add this as a first line in the constructor. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that was one point remaining. Now we are almost done with the super keyword. Okay, now let me just open this one and let's just revise 2-3 points. Okay, whatever we have talked in last session. Okay, so see, I have created some notes, so let's just recap this in 2-3 minutes and then we will start with the next concept. So first statement or first point is that, okay, so first thing is that if the superclass parameterized constructor is defined but the superclass default constructor is not defined, then compile time error will arise. Okay, so this statement we already studied. Like if you have the superclass, inside this superclass if you have the parameterized constructor, okay, and you have not defined the default constructor or no argument constructor, and if you try to create the object of that class with the no argument constructor, that time it will give you a compile time error. Clear? Clear to everyone? Is this statement
Yes.
clear? We already discussed. Are you remember that one? This example?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
So first statement is that, means the point is that if you have the, like, inside your superclass, if you are creating parameterized constructor, then compiler will not create the no argument constructor or the default constructor for you automatically. If you don't have any constructor in your class, then only the default constructor will get created. Okay, that is one point. Then if the child class parameterized constructor is called, then parent class default constructor is also called at that time. This point we already discussed in yesterday's session. Yesterday in means yesterday to yesterday. Okay. So if we have the child class parameterized constructor, if we are calling that parameterized constructor, then automatically let me just open this one, drawing mode. Okay, so that we can explain here, just to revise, okay, for the students who were absent maybe. So see, the second point we are discussing. Okay, second point. So see here, let's suppose I have one child class. Okay, let's suppose here I have one class A, which is our parent class. Inside A I have the default constructor. Okay, now here I have another class B, which is extending A class. Inside this B class, let's suppose you have one parameterized constructor. Okay, now inside the main method, okay, let's suppose here I have the main method. Inside this main method, if you are writing b is equal to new b, and here you are passing the parameter, this is 11. Okay, see here I have created the object of B class using the parameterized constructor. So call will come here, and here first statement will be super if you have not written anything, or even if you have written something, then also the first statement will be super. That's the reason always when you call the child class parameterized constructor, then automatically the parent class default constructor is also get called. So from this super, call will go to parent class default constructor. That is the second point. I hope it is clear to you. Okay, now the third point is that if the superclass default constructor is not defined, then inside a child class constructor call the parent class parameterized constructor using the super. Meaning is that, let's suppose, let me just delete this thing. Okay, so what is the meaning of third point? If the superclass default constructor is not defined, then inside a child class constructor call the parent class parameterized constructor using super. Anyone want to explain me this point in your words?
मॅम जर पॅरेंट क्लास मध्ये डिफॉल्ट कन्स्ट्रक्टर नसेल ना, तर मग ते पॅरेंट क्लासच्या पॅरामीटराइज कन्स्ट्रक्टरलाच कॉल करणार.
Then
मग ते पॅरेंट क्लासच्या पॅरामीटराइज कन्स्ट्रक्टरला कॉल करणार.
see the okay fine. Now Deepali, can you just go ahead? One point is missing. Just read this statement and try to frame in your word. If the
Yes,
superclass, yes, can you go ahead?
Yes. जे सुपर क्लास मध्ये जर डिफॉल्ट म्हणजे डिफॉल्ट कन्स्ट्रक्टर नसेल तर बेस क्लास चाइल्ड क्लास मध्ये चाइल्ड क्लासच्या कन्स्ट्रक्टर मध्ये ते विथ पॅरामीटराइज म्हणजे बेस क्लास मध्ये ते पॅरामीटराइजच्या कन्स्ट्रक्टरला कॉल करेल, पर सुपर कीवर्ड मध्ये आपण पॅरामीटराइज यूज करू शकतो.
Okay, so see, this is exactly the same point, this one. Okay, see, let's suppose we don't have this constructor. Okay, and if we are removing this one, see here, the point is that if in your child class you have the parameterized constructor, okay, now in main class you are calling you are creating the B class object and calling the parameterized constructor of the child class. Here I have passed one parameter, so it will go here. Okay, now if you see here, we are getting compile time error. Why? Because inside this statement automatically compiler will add the super, right? Now what this super will do, it will go or find the no argument constructor inside your parent class. But if you see inside the class A, we don't have any no argument constructor, right? So here we are saying that if the superclass default constructor is not defined, see here inside the superclass we don't have any default constructor, right? Now if the superclass default constructor is not defined, then inside child class constructor all the parent class parameterized inside the child class constructor call the parent class parameterized constructor using super. Here if you see we are getting error, and to remove this error it is saying that you can call the parent class parameterized constructor by using super keyword in your child class parameterized constructor. So here if you send some value, then that error will be gone, because here you are calling the super with the parameter. So it will not look for the default constructor, it will look for the parameterized constructor. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Confused? Anyone is confused? Pitambari, Nikunj, are you able to follow? Hello? Are you able to understand?
हम थोड़ा कंफ्यूज होता है.
Okay. I think you were absent in the last session. That's the reason you are confused. But let me just explain again one more time. See here. Okay. Let's suppose. See. Let's suppose here. Even if I remove this one. Let me just create something from scratch for you. Okay. So see. Now we have class A. Now we have here class B, which is extending class A. Okay, and this is my main method, nothing else. Okay. Now here, okay, here when I write A is equal to new A, what I am trying to do here, I am creating the object of A class, and here I am calling the default constructor of the A class. Okay, but now if you see inside our class A, we don't have any constructor. Okay, but when you are writing this way, then if you don't have any constructor in your class, then compiler will create the default constructor for you. So internally this class A will become this way. See. Okay, so now when you are writing this statement, when you are creating the object without passing any argument, that time automatically call will go to the default constructor. If I print here something, maybe A class default constructor, if I save this and run the program, you will see the output as a class default constructor. See here, A class default constructor. Why we are getting the output? Because automatically as soon as you return this way, the call will go here and it will print A class default constructor. Okay, now let's suppose here inside the B class also I have one constructor, and here I am printing S out B class default constructor. Okay, now see here, let's suppose here instead of creating the object of A class, I am creating the object of B class. B is equal to new B. Now what will happen? Here you are creating object of B class, so call will go to B class constructor. Okay, and here you have printed B class default constructor. But now if you see, the output will be A class default constructor and then B class default constructor. See here. First you are getting A class default constructor and then you are getting B class default constructor. How? Because when you are writing the default constructor of the B class, call will go here at line number 10, and in every constructor default constructor or parameterized constructor. Every time if you are not mentioning anything, then first statement will be super. Okay, even if you have not written this line, then also internally compiler will write this line for you. Okay, then whenever this statement come of the super, then what will happen? First it will go to the super class, and here we have the super class as a. Inside the super class A, it will call the default constructor. Then it will print A class default constructor, and then it will come to line number 12, and after that it will print B class default constructor, right? That's the way you are getting output as A class default constructor and then B class default constructor. Is this clear to you, Pitambari, till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Now let's go ahead. See, here I have the default constructor. Okay, now let's suppose I am adding one parameter here, int I. A class may be parameterized constructor. Okay, now inside the B class also I want to add one parameter. Let's remove this line. Okay, and here let me call the B, let me create the object of B class by sending one parameter. So see here what will happen. Here we are creating object of B class by passing one integer argument, so it will go here. Okay, now here if you see inside this B constructor with the B parameterized constructor, I already told you that even if you are writing or not writing, one statement compiler will add for you, and that is super, right? Now here you have compiler added the super, meaning is that it will go to your super class. What is the super class? A. And inside the super class it will check, do we have any no argument constructor of the A class? But if you see here, you don't have any default constructor or no argument constructor, right? That's the reason it is giving you the error. And what is the error? Remove first parameter from constructor A. Why it is saying that? Because this statement want no argument constructor, and to fulfill that condition it is saying that please remove this argument from the A constructor. Okay, but now we don't want to remove this one, right? We want the parameterized constructor as it is, but we have to remove this error. Now here I will pass one parameter. Let's suppose 12. Okay, now what will happen? Before it was looking for no argument constructor, but now here we have passed the parameter. So instead of no argument constructor, now it will look for the parameterized constructor of your super class. So here inside this super class you have the parameterized constructor, right? Now the call will go here, it will print this statement, and after that it will print this statement. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so that was the point. If you have the parameterized constructor in your child class and you don't have the default constructor in your parent class, that time you need to call the parameterized constructor of the super class by using super keyword. That was the third point we have here. If the super class default constructor is not defined, then inside child class constructor, call the parent class parameterized constructor using super keyword. Clear now everyone? Nikunj? Clear to you? Not able to hear you. I'm not able to hear you. Anyone else? Are you able to hear?
No, ma'am.
No, right? Okay, fine. Let's go here. I hope this is clear. These are very important points. You always need to remember these things. Okay, these are very much internal things about the super keyword. You may get 2-3 questions on this point only, right? What is super keyword? Then they will ask you some scenario based question. If you are clear with this point, you will definitely answer the question without any issue. Okay, now next 2 points are there. if the superclass instance variable name is same as that of the child class or subclass instance variable name, then super keyword is used only inside the subclass to access the superclass instance variable. What is the meaning of that? See, when we are using the super keyword, only when you have the child and parent relationship, because meaning of super is the base class. Whenever you are writing super, it will refer to the parent class. So if you don't have parent and child relationship, then there is no use of the super keyword. Okay, first statement, you need to remember that super will come in picture only in case of inheritance. If you don't have inheritance, then there is no use of super keyword. Okay, now what was that statement which we have discussed now? Let's suppose inside this A class, which is a parent, we have the instance variable I, and value I have assigned as a 10. Now inside the B class also I have the same variable. See here, right? Let me remove this thing. So see, here I have A class variable same I, and B class also I have the same variable. Now here I have, let's suppose, one method void test. Inside this test method I am printing the value of the I, and here I will create the object of B class, maybe B is equal to new B, right? Now I want to call this method, so by using this object we can call that method b.test. Now if we save and execute the program, you will get the output as a 20. See here, you are getting the output as a 20. Why you are getting the 20 output? Because here whenever you are calling the test method, it will go here and it will print value of I from the B class, right? Now let's suppose you want to print the value of parent class, but here the name of the variable is I, and here also name of the variable is I. So in the inheritance, if you have the instance variable names as the same in parent and child classes, that time if you want to refer the parent class instance variable, then you will be using the super keyword. Okay, now here let's print first the value of this I from the parent class. So how we can refer? Here we will write sout super dot I. Now this I, it will take from the super class. So super class is A. So first it will print a value as a 10, and then it will print value as a 20. If we save and execute, you will get the output as a 10, 20. See here, 10 and 20. Clear, everyone? First statement is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now the second statement is that Java uses a super keyword for explicitly calling the superclass constructor within the child class constructor. Okay, meaning is that if I open the IntelliJ, okay, and if I just minimize this thing, if we go above, let's remove this thing and create the B class constructor. And here also let's create the A class constructor. Okay, now let's suppose inside this A class constructor I have one variable I, okay, and here maybe we are printing something in A class, okay, and here also if we are calling, let's suppose if you are passing one argument, okay, and here you will create the object of the B class by passing one argument. Okay, now see here, if you explicitly want to call the super class constructor, that time you will be using the super keyword. Meaning is that here you will write super and you will pass one parameter. So here you are explicitly calling the super class constructor, right? So that is one use of the super. First use is to call the instance variable of the superclass. Second is to call the superclass constructor. Third is to call the superclass methods. These are main three uses of the super keyword. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any questions on the super? Let me know. Clear to everyone? No confusion, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now let's go to the another concept. Okay, this keyword. Okay, so second or the next concept is this keyword. See, we have the super keyword to refer or to invoke the superclass method, superclass instance variable, or superclass constructors. Same way we have the this keyword. Okay, now what is the use of this keyword? Let's suppose, let me go to the next slide. Okay, so see, the same way how we are referring the parent class instance methods, parent class instance variable, then methods and constructor. Same way, if you want to refer the current class method, current class constructor, or current class variables, that time you will be using this keyword. Okay, now let's understand how. Okay, let's suppose, let me explain you on the whiteboard first. Let's delete this. Okay, pay attention, this and super is very much important thing. Okay, let's suppose this keyword. So see here, let's suppose I have the class A. Inside this class A, I have one variable int I, and the value of I is 10. Okay, now let's suppose here I am creating the main method, string arguments, and inside this main method a is equal to new A. Okay, so see here, now let's suppose, or let's take the another example for easy understanding. Okay, let me just go here inside the IntelliJ, and let's create one class, new class, and give the name as this keyword, this keyword example. Okay, so this is my class, this keyword example. Let's remove the another one. Okay, now let's suppose here I have the main method, and inside this keyword class, inside this file, let's create the another class, and let me give the name as a employee. Okay, this is my employee class. Now inside this employee class I have some variables. Let's suppose private int employee ID, right? Then I have the another variable private string employee name, and another variable private int maybe, or maybe mail address, we can take private string mail ID. Okay, so these are three variables I have. Okay, now let's create the constructor. How we create the constructor? The name of the constructor will be exactly same as your class name, and here I want to create the parameterized constructor. Let's suppose here I am passing first argument as a ID, then second argument as a name, and third argument as a mail. All the arguments whatever we have inside this employee class, the same argument I am passing for my employee constructor. Okay, now here I want to initialize the value of ID, then I want to initialize the value of name, and I want to initialize the value of the mail. This way I have initialized the value. Okay, now to initialize the value, first we need to pass these values from our main method. Okay, so how we can pass the values here? First you need to create the object of the employee class. How to create the employee class object? Employee emp is equal to new employee. Here you need to pass three arguments, because inside your constructor you have three arguments. First one is ID of the employee. Let's suppose ID is 100. Second, name of the employee. So let's suppose the employee name is ABC. And we have the mail address. So abc@gmail.com. This is my mail address. Okay. So here we have passed all these values. Okay. Now let's suppose here inside the employee class only I want to write one more method, which is maybe void display info of the employee. This is my method, and inside this method I want to display all the details of the employee, like we have employee ID, we have employee name, and we have employee mail address. So how we can print? Here I can just write sout ID, right? Here ID will get printed, and then name will get printed, and here maybe mail address will get printed. Okay, is this clear to everyone? Whatever I have written till now, this is very simple. I just created the employee class. Inside employee class I have ID, name, mail, then parameterized constructor, and one method which is to display the information of employee. So here I am displaying ID, name, and mail. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone have
Yes.
any questions till this point? Clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Now here, to print this information of the employees, we need to call that method, right? So very first let's go here and call the method emp.displayInfo. Now if we save and run this class, what do you think? What will be the output? What do you think? Here I am printing ID, name, and mail. Here I am passing the values 100 abc@gmail.com. What will be the output now?
100 ABC and ABC@gmail.
Okay. Now if we save this and execute the program, see here what output we are getting. We are getting 0, null, and null. What is the meaning? We are not getting these values we have passed. Instead it is giving us the default values. Default value of the integer, see here, default value of the integer 0, default value of the string null, and default value of the mail null. Why this is giving us these values instead of our actual values? See here what happened whenever you are passing this argument. Okay, call will come here to the employee parameterized constructor, right? Now if you see this ID, name, and mail, these are instance variables, right? Instance variables of this employee class, and these are your formal arguments, or the your these are the arguments you have passed to your employee, right? But if you see, instance variable and your arguments are same, ID, then name, mail, and mail. So both instance variables and your arguments, both names are same. That's the reason compiler will not able to differentiate between this ID and this ID. This will not differentiate between name and this name, mail and mail. Okay, that's the reason what will happen, instead of assigning the values of this ID, name, and mail, always it will give the priority to instance variables. And we already know that if we are not assigning the value to the instance variable, then automatically it will assign the default values. That's the reason it is giving the value as a 0, null, and null, right? But now, are you clear with this point first? I want all of you to understand this point first.
Yes.
Clear, right? So the point is that it is not able to differentiate between your instance variables and your formal arguments. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to tell them that we are referring this id. Let me open in the drawing mode. Maybe we have to tell them that I am referring this id as this one. Okay, I am referring this name as this name, and this male as this male. Okay, and this id as this id, this name as this name, and this male. Okay, so all the variables id, name and male of this side will be my instance variables, this one, right? Instance variable. And this side of variables will be my formal arguments. Okay, but this thing we know because we are human. We know that these are instance variables and these are your formal arguments. But how the compiler will understand, because it will be confused between these two because names are same. Okay, so now what we can do, let's just come out of drawing mode, and here instead of this you just need to use this keyword. Okay, so whenever you are writing this dot id, compiler will understand that this means your current class and id means current class id variable, so it will immediately refer to this one, not this one. Okay, so now it is referring to this id, and here for this id now the initialization will happen with this id. So see here, if we open the drawing mode, okay, what will happen here, here you have passed the id as a 100, right? Then here name you have passed as a abc, and mail address you have passed as a abc@gmail.com, something like that. Okay, so now what will happen, this dot id means this id, and this id is whatever you have passed. So here id you have passed 100, so to this id it will assign the value as a 100. Clear? Is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone should at least acknowledge. How I will
Yes.
get to know that are you able to understand or not? Or do I have to take the name every time like Om, Dipali, Nikunj? No, right? Whenever I am asking are you able to understand, at least you should acknowledge my question. Okay, you are able to answer, like you are able to understand, yes, or not able to understand, then can you repeat? These are two just a statement or sentence you need to tell me. Okay, so let's go here. This one. Okay, so see, whenever you are writing this dot id, it means current class instance variable, so it will refer to this one, and this id means your formal arguments. So here you have passed the argument as 100, so it will assign 100 as a value to this variable. Okay, now here also you need to write this dot name, name, and then here also you have to write this dot mail. Okay, now whenever you are writing this, it means it is referring to current class instance variables. And now if you save and run the program, you will get the output as expected. See here, now you are getting 100, then abc, and then abc@gmail.com. Are you able to understand the use of this keyword now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So the use of this keyword is to refer the current class instance variables. Okay, if you are not writing this, then automatically it will consider, or it will not able to differentiate between these two. But instead of id, if you are passing the variable name as emp id, then maybe emp name, and here emp mail, and if you just remove this keyword, if you just remove this keyword here, okay, and instead of id, if you assign employee id, instead of name if you assign emp name, and instead of mail if you write emp mail, then you don't have to write this keyword here. If now I execute the program, then also you will get the output exactly like 100 abc and abc@gmail.com. Why? Because here these naming conventions like id, name and mail are different, and here you have given employee id, employee name and emp mail, right? So compiler will not get confused between these two variables. This and super, both the things, just you need to keep in your mind. If you have the variable name as a same, if you have the constructor name, or not constructor, but if you have the method name as a same, then only you have to go for the this and super. Otherwise there is no need. At least for the super, to call the parent class constructor you can use, but this means current class instance variable, current class methods and current class constructor. Only in case if the naming convention are same, then only to differentiate between these two you have to use the this keyword. If the names are different, then there is no need to use this, right? Clear now?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the first thing about the this keyword. Okay, now let's suppose here, let's take the another example, very simple one. Let's keep this this keyword example as it is there, or let's take let's suppose here only, let's take the another class. Okay, let me take the class name as a. Okay, what it is saying, duplicate class. Okay, let's take the class as a p. Now inside this p class, let me create the main method as well. Okay, now here I have one variable I and value of I is a 10. Okay, now let's suppose here I have one method void test. Inside this test also I have the variable I and value of I is 20. Here I am printing the value of the I. Now let's suppose I will create the object of the p class, and I will write new p. Now to call the test method we will be writing p.test, right? So here what will be the output now, 20 or 10? What do you think, what will be the output here? 20. Other students?
Yes.
20. Okay, save and run the p class. See here, run p.main method. See here, you are getting the output as a 20. Okay, but now let's suppose you want to print this variable I, instance variable. Okay, this I is a local variable, right? This is local. What is local variable? Anyone remember from our local variable classes? What is local variable?
फक्त मेथड मध्ये कॉल केलेला असते.
Okay.
स्कोप सुद्धा फक्त मेथड पुरताच.
Correct. If you try to access this I outside the method, then it will not possible, right? The scope is only inside this method. Outside this method there is no existence of the local variables. Okay, now let's suppose you want to access this I variable, right? So how you can access it? What do you think? Like just don't talk about this keyword, but in general if you want to access the instance variable, then how you will able to access it?
By creating object.
Okay, so yes, so here what I have to write then? Maybe here I first,
Main method.
no, let's suppose I want to print here only. Inside the test class I want to print the value of this I. So simply we can create the object here, right? P is equal to new P, and then here I can just write s out P dot I. What do you think? Will it work or not?
Yes, ma'am, work.
Here we will get the output as a 10, right? Because see, here we have created I variable, value is 20. You are printing the I. It will take the local variable, and here you have this local variable, so here we will get the output as a 20. Now here we want to print this global variable or maybe this instance variable. So we have created object of the P class. Then by using P, you are printing value as a 10. If we save this and execute the program, let's see what output we are getting. Okay, we will get 20 and 10. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, see here you are creating the object to access this variable. Okay, the same thing you can do by using this keyword as well. Let's suppose you want to call this I variable, you want to print this I variable, so you don't have to create the object of the class. Okay, simply you can write this. Whenever you are writing this dot I, this means you have to just keep in your mind. Okay, let me just write here only. Meaning of this keyword, this means current object. Okay, you just need to remember this means current object. Okay, so now if you see here, this means what? Current object. What is the current object we have? P. See here, P dot test, it will come to test class. What is the object currently we have? P, right? Then it will check this dot I, means P class I variable. What is the P class I variable? This one. So it will print here value as a 10. If we save, execute the program, then also you will get the output as a 20 and 10. See here. Clear everyone? Anyone confused?
Yes, ma'am.
If you are confused, let me know, because this is very important thing. If you are not clear, I can explain you 2, 3, 4 any times. Okay, but you should be clear with everything. Each line you should able to understand. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Nikunj? Clear? Your voice is not audible. I think there is some issue. You can just, okay, perfect. Hi Rituja.
Hello, ma'am.
Don't have office today?
Yes, but shift timing is 2:30 afternoon.
Okay. Then you should have joined from 10 o'clock. We have discussed about super this in previous 1 hour. Okay, no problem. I have the recording. Maybe I will share with you. Now we can go for this one. Okay, this keyword. We have started with the this keyword. So here first we discussed that this keyword is used to differentiate between instance variables and formal arguments, right? Now the second use of this keyword is to call or to invoke the current class instance variable. This is our current class instance variable. That is the third use. Are we clear now with these 2 points?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's go and talk about the third use case. Okay, let's suppose here you have the, in this employee class, okay, we are using the employee class now. Inside this employee class, see here, I have id variable, I have name, and I have mail. Okay, then here I have the default or no argument constructor. So let's suppose here employee class no arg constructor. This is employee class no argument constructor, and this is our employee class parameterized constructor. Okay, here we have created one display info method, and here we are printing id, name, and mail. From the main class, I am passing the value of id as 100, name of employee as abc, and this is employee mail address, which is abc@gmail.com. When we call the display info method, all this information will get printed. Okay, if we save this and execute employee object, so this execute this class, this keyword example dot main. See here, we are getting all the details of the employee, 100 abc and their gmail address. Now let's suppose you have the requirement where you want to call this employee constructor first, or the default constructor first. Okay, and then you want to call this employee parameterized constructor. Okay, so in that case, what we will be doing here, you just have to use this keyword. See here, whenever you are writing this, that time it will call your current class no argument constructor. See here, as soon as I write this keyword here, this employee is enabled. If we are commenting this thing, see here, this is disabled, meaning is that it is never used in your class. If you are uncommenting, then it is used in your class. See here, if we save now, what will happen? Here we are calling employee.displayInfo method. So your cursor will come to this constructor, and in this constructor you have written first line as this. So call will go to your default constructor or no argument constructor. It will print first employee class no argument constructor, and then it will initialize the values for all the variables, and after that all the things will get printed. Okay, save and execute the program again. See here, first you are getting employee class no argument constructor, and then you are getting 100 abc@gmail.com. Clear now? Third point is that this keyword is used to call the current class constructor. In the super case, if we are not writing the super, then automatically compiler will add super as a first line. But if we talk about this keyword, then there is no concept like that. This keyword you have to write explicitly in the constructor. Compiler will not add that line for you automatically. Okay, that is one difference you need to keep in your mind between super and this. Clear now? Are you clear with 3 points whatever we have discussed, everyone?
Yes.
दीपाली, पितांबरी, निकुंज.
मॅम एकदा परत सांगा ना मॅम.
Okay, see here, this point, right? Last one. First two are clear, Pitambari?
Yes ma'am.
Okay, so see, the last one is that when you want to call, let's suppose you are not writing this keyword here. If I save, see here, we have this main method. Inside the main method you have created the object of employee class, and you have passed these parameters. Whenever you are creating the object by using these parameters, that time what will happen? It will go to your employee class constructor, which is having 3 parameters, because you have passed here 3 parameters, 100 abc@gmail.com. Then it will come here, and here as a id value it will assign 100, name it will assign abc, and mail maybe abc@gmail.com. Okay, after that what will happen, here we have called display info method. Now we will come to this method, and here it will print id, name and mail. If I save this, execute the program, you will get the output as 100 abc and abc@gmail.com. Clear this much?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now the requirement is that, let's suppose someone told you that can you first call this default constructor and then this parameterized constructor. Okay, so that time what you have to do, you just have to write the first statement or first line as this. Whenever you are writing this, that time automatically, this means what? Current class, current object. You just need to keep in your mind the meaning of this is the current class or current object. Okay, so this means current object, and it will refer to current object constructor or current object no argument constructor, because here we have not passed any argument. Okay, so from here automatically call will go to no argument constructor of the current class. We have the current class as a employee, so it will go to employee class no argument constructor. It will print employee class no argument constructor, and then it will come to this display info method and it will print all the details. That's the reason when you are adding this here in the parameterized constructor, first this statement will get printed, and after that all the details of the employee will get printed. If we save, execute the program again, you will see that the output is employee class no argument constructor and then 100 abc and abc@gmail.com. Clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this keyword is used to call the current class constructor. That is the statement. Clear now? All 3 points?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, perfect. So now one more thing I just want to explain about this keyword. We have covered 3 points, but now let's suppose, let me remove this one. Okay, so I have one constructor, one is no argument constructor, and second one is argument constructor which is having 3 arguments: employee id, employee name and employee mail address. Now let's suppose after some time I have added one more argument. Let's suppose here I have added private int mobile number of the employee. Okay, and then maybe private float salary of the employee. Okay, so these are 2 arguments I have passed for this employee class. Now what we have to do, we have to create one more constructor here, same name as an employee, and here we will pass all the 5 arguments. Okay, so first one is our employee id, then second one is employee name, third one is employee name, emp mail. Okay, these are 3 arguments I have. Now I have added 2 more arguments, right? Mobile and salary. So here I will add int mobile number of the employee and then float salary of the employee. Clear? What I did, I just created one more employee constructor which is having 5 parameters. Okay, even we can write here maybe id, employee name, and then employee mail address, and here mobile. Okay, now to initialized value for all these variables, I have to write here this dot id is equal to id, so that this dot id means your employee class id, this id. Okay, if you don't write this here, what will happen? Compiler will get confused between the formal arguments and your instance arguments. Okay, so here you can write this dot id, this dot name is equal to name, then this dot mail is equal to mail, this dot mobile, all the arguments you have to initialize, right? So here also mobile. Just a minute. काकू तुमचा मोबाईल सायलेंट वर करा ना, आवाज येतोय पूर्ण. Sorry, let's go here. So here you have initialized id, name, mail and mobile. Now one more thing is salary. So here you will be writing this dot salary is equal to salary, right? So here what we did, we have overloaded the constructor. See here, this is one constructor with number of arguments 3, and here this is the another constructor with number of argument as a 5. So if we have different number of arguments and same name, then what we call it as a overloading, right? And these are the constructors, so we call it as a constructor overloading. Okay, now if we go here in our main method, here I have called the employee, or I have created the employee object with 3 arguments. So it will go to the employee constructor which is having 3 arguments. And in this constructor we have 3 arguments, right? Now if I create the another employee, let's suppose employee emp1 is equal to new employee, and here if I pass first as a employee id, maybe 200, then employee name as a pqr, employee mail address as a pqr@gmail.com, this is the employee address. Sorry. Then we need to pass the mobile number of the employee. Let's suppose mobile number is something like this. Okay, after that I need to pass here the salary of the employee, right? So let's suppose salary of the employee is something like this. So I have passed 1 2 3 4 5 arguments. Now let's call here emp1 dot display info method. Okay, whenever you are passing 5 arguments, if you do control click, your cursor will come to the employee constructor which is having 5 arguments, 1 2 3 4 5, right? Now when you are displaying the info, that time also you need to add other variables whatever you have added. So let's suppose I have added first one as a mobile number, and then I want to print the salary of the employee. Okay, now see here, are you clear what I have done here? Everyone, is this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I just created new constructor and I have passed some more 2 arguments. Okay, now here I have created one class employee and I have just passed that newly added 2 arguments. Okay, here we have just called display info method. Now what will happen when you are calling here employee.display info, that time employee id 100 will get printed, then name abc will get printed, and employee name mail address will get printed. But here you have not passed mobile number and salary, right? So for the first employee, here in this display info method, the mobile number and salary will get printed as a default values. For the integer it will get printed 0, for the salary also 0. Okay, for the second employee I have passed the value of the mobile number as this one and salary as this one, so these 2 values will get printed. Okay, if we save this and execute the program, Let me just execute it and show you the output. See here, for the first employee we have passed only 100, name of the employee and Gmail of the employee. We have not passed the mobile number and salary, hence it is showing the default values. Then for the second employee, I have passed the mobile number and I have passed the salary. So it is printing the mobile number whatever you have passed. Here we have passed 9090909. It is displaying that mobile number. Then this is the salary of the employee. It is displaying the salary of the employee. I hope this is clear to everyone. Clear now? Now let's understand the important point about the this keyword here. See here, if you see, okay, here in this employee constructor we are already initializing the value of employee ID, employee name and employee mail, right? Again in this constructor also we are initializing the same values, ID, name and mail, right? Then why to rewrite this thing again if you already written here? Let's suppose, let me just create here employee ID so that it will be clear to you. Then maybe name and here mail. The same thing whatever you have written here you can just written here, right here. Okay, so see here now, the first three statements, ID, name and mail, and first three statement of this constructor, both are exactly same. Then why to write the same code again and again? We already discussed that this keyword is used to call or invoke the current class constructor, right? So here instead of writing these three lines we can easily call the current class constructor and we can use the same code here. So how we can do that? If I just remove these three lines and if I just write this and here if I pass ID, then name and mail, right? So if I call here the this keyword and pass three arguments, ID, name and mail, what will happen? It will check, this means current class. Here constructor, which constructor? Constructor having three parameters. Here we have ID, name and mail. Do we have any constructor in a current class which is having three parameters? So this is the constructor which is having three parameters. One is ID, second name and mail. Now this, whenever you are calling this, it will go and invoke the current class employee constructor which is having three arguments. It will go here and it will do the initialization for ID, name and mail. Then here you just need to initialize the values for newly added variables. Here you have newly added only mobile and salary. So you can just write here this dot mobile is equal to mobile. Then it will initialize value of the mobile. When you are writing this dot salary is equal to salary, it will initialize value of the salary, right? Are you able to see the difference? What we are achieving here? Code reusability. We don't have to write this code again here. You can just use this keyword and pass these three arguments. Now if we save this and execute the program, then also you will get exactly same output. See here, first 100 ABC and the Gmail address. For the second employee you have passed the mobile number and salary of the employee. Clear? So this keyword is used to call the current class constructor. Also this keyword is used to reuse the code. Here we are reusing these three lines. Instead of writing these three lines, your work is done only by using this one line. Clear to everyone?
Yes.
Anyone have any confusion? Let me know. No confusion?
No, ma'am.
Pitambari, clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
How we are reusing this statement, right? So 4 points I have covered till now. Anyone want to just recap? Maybe Dipali, can you just recap? What was those 4 points about this keyword?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
This keyword is used to call the current class instance variable. Then this keyword is used to reuse the code. And then this keyword is used to call the default constructor.
Okay.
Then it also call the instance variable.
Okay. Om, can you just explain whatever we have discussed about this keyword in your word?
Then we can use this keyword to call the object from the current class. Then we can use this keyword to call the current class with no argument constructor.
Okay.
Then we can also use then we can provide parameters in this keyword, and it can call the class with the means it can then reuse code also.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Rutuja, Pitambari, Nikunj, clear, right? Rutuja, you were not present for first 1 hour, so I am not asking you to explain. But I hope whatever we have discussed in last 30 minutes, you are clear with those concepts.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Pitambari, do you want to explain me the uses of this, like this 4 points, whatever we have discussed? In your word, whatever you remember, just repeat. Like this keyword is used to invoke the current class instance variable. This keyword is used to invoke the current class constructor. This keyword is used to call the current class constructor from another constructor, and this keyword is used for the code reusability. Clear? Clear, everyone?
Yes.
You need to answer the question why I am asking you to explain in your word, so that you can just answer in your word. Whenever you are answering by your own, that thing you will remember. When you will give whenever you will start attending the interview, that time also you already explained this thing to me. So when you are explaining the same thing to the interviewer, that time you will feel more confident, because you already explained in this session. Okay, so you have the confidence that I already explained this thing in that session, so maybe now I am more confident and I can answer the question very much clearly, confidently. Okay, that's the only reason I am asking you to explain me in your word. Okay, now if this is clear to you, let's go to the next concept. Let me just open first this one. So see, this keyword, first statement is that this keyword is used to refer the current class instance variables. We have already explained this with example. Okay, now second point is this keyword is used to invoke the current class methods. Okay, then this keyword is used to call current class constructor, and this keyword is used to reuse the constructor using this keyword. Means using this keyword you can just reuse the already written constructor. Now only one thing is remaining, which is to call the current class method. Okay, let me just cover that one. Let's suppose here we have display info method. Okay, now let's suppose here I have one more method. Let's suppose void display, or let's write another method. Let's suppose I am writing the test method. Inside this test method I am just printing I am in no argument test method. Okay, now here I have another method void test, and here I am passing one argument. So here I will print I am in parameterize test method. Okay, let's suppose in this main class, here instead of calling this display info method, let me remove this one, and here what I am doing, let's suppose emp1 dot test method. If I call test method without argument, then it will go to this method, right? The test method which doesn't have any argument, and it will print I am in no argument construct, I am in no argument test method. If we save, execute the program, you will get the output as I am in no argument test method. See here, I am in no argument test method. Okay. Now here we have another test method which is taking one parameter. So if we go above in our main method, and here if I pass one argument, then what will happen? It will go to test method which is having one argument, and it will print I am in parameterized test method. If we save, execute the program, you will get this output. See here, I am in parameterized test method. Okay. Now let's suppose you have the requirement to call this test method before calling the parameterized test method. That time, usually how we call these methods? Here, to call the instance method, we have to create an object of this class, right? So let's suppose employee emp p is equal to new employee, and then maybe here you can write emp dot test. This way you can call this test method. If I save the program and execute it now, what will happen? First it will call this test method. See here, first it will call this test method, it will print I am in no argument test method, and then it will come here and it will print I am in parameterized method. If we save and execute, let me just show you. See here, first no argument method will get called, and then parameterized method will get called. Why? Because here we have created employee object, and then we are calling employee class no argument, without argument test method. Okay, but if you want to do the same, we already know that this keyword is used to refer the current object. What is current object? Employee, right? So why to create the object here again, and why to call this method by using that object? Instead of that, you can just write this. This means what? Current object. What is current object? emp. Through that emp, or from on that emp, we are calling this test method. So first this class test method without any argument will get called. It will print I am in no argument test method, and then this statement will get printed. If I save, execute the program, you will get exactly same output. See here, I am in no argument constructor, then I am in parameterized constructor. Sorry, methods, not constructor. Clear now? This keyword is used to call the current class methods. Here we are calling current class test method by using this keyword. Clear to everyone?
Yes.
Should I take Dipali's name, then Pitambari, then Nikunj, then Rutuja every time? Why you are not acknowledging my question? If someone is not able to understand, how I will get to know that you are able to follow me or not? Clear everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now Let's open keynote. Okay, so these are 4 points you just need to remember. Okay, and we have covered all this with example. Now let's go to the next slide. What I have written here, first I have created the class A. Okay, then here we have written system.out.println I am in default constructor of A. Here I have created one parameterized constructor. Okay, and in the main method I have created the object of A class by passing one argument. Okay, what do you think, what will be the output of this code?
I am in a default constructor of it.
How?
बिकॉज म्हणजे आपण एक क्लासचा ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट केला आणि तिथं म्हणजे पॅरामीटर पास केलं, त्यामुळे ते कंपायलर विथ पॅरामीटराइज कन्स्ट्रक्टर मध्ये गेलं आणि त्यामध्ये आपण डिफॉल्ट कन्स्ट्रक्टर कॉल केलेला आहे, त्यामुळे ते डायरेक्ट डिफॉल्ट कन्स्ट्रक्टर केलं.
Perfect. So now see here, see, whenever do you remember I told you that whenever we are creating the object by using new keyword, that time what will happen? Anyone remember? When we create the object using new keyword, what will happen?
It will call default.
One by one. Yes, Om.
Instance call instance.
Instance method. Okay, Deepali, you were saying something.
No ma'am, instance variables call with any default constructor.
One more thing was that whenever we are creating the object by using new keyword, that time internally the memory will get allocated. Okay, let me just go here and open it in drawing mode. See here, I told you that whenever we are creating the object by using new keyword, that time memory will get allocated in our heap memory area, right? Heap memory area. So see, inside the main method I have created one object obj. So inside this heap memory area one object will get created and reference will be object obj. Okay, here we have passed one argument, so maybe the value, okay, or here we have passed this 20 as an argument, so it will call the constructor with one argument. So here the value of I will be 20, right? Now inside this A constructor, what we are doing, we have created one more object of the A class with new keyword. So inside this heap memory area one more object will get created and here the reference will be A, right? So now we have two objects inside the heap memory area. So memory for this object is also allocated, memory for this object is also allocated. Clear? Two objects get created in the heap memory area. Now we are utilizing the memory for two objects. Okay, but what I am trying to explain you here, if we just delete this one, go out of this mode, instead of creating this A class object, if we want to call this default constructor, how can we call?
Then this keyword.
Yes, perfect.
So
So
this
yes, so we can write here this without any argument. If you are writing that, then what will happen? Automatically call will go to the default constructor of the current class, right? So when you are writing this keyword, that time object will not get created. Okay, so in that case only one object will get created here, which is this obj, and this A object will not get created. That's the reason you are saving your memory, right? Instead of allocating the memory to two objects, Now with the this keyword, you are just allocating the memory inside your heap memory area for only one object. So you are perfectly able to reduce the memory, right? So if if I just escape, and if we just do the same example in the IntelliJ, let's go ahead. Here let's create one more class, maybe new class, and here let's give the name as x class is already there. Okay, let me just refactor and rename to k. Okay, now we have one k class. Let's create the default constructor for this k class, and here I will write in k class no R constructor. Okay, now here I have one parameterized constructor which is taking one argument. Let's suppose here I will print I am in parameterized constructor. Okay, let's create the main method here, and let's create the object of k with new keyword, and here you will pass the parameter, let's suppose 20. What will happen now? Here we have created the object of the k class and we have passed one parameter. So call will go to the constructor which is having one parameter, and it will print I am in parameterized constructor. If we save this and execute the program, you will get the output as I am in parameterized constructor. What happened? Okay, let's go here, execute the program again. I am in parameterized constructor. Clear till now?
Yes.
Okay, so see here, in this case only one object got created and memory is allocated only for one object. That's okay. Now our requirement is we want to call this default constructor from our parameterized constructor. So how we call it? Here we need to create the object of k class using new keyword, and here we have to write default constructor. Now what will happen? Call will go to this default constructor, it will print this statement, and after that it will print this statement. If we save, execute the program, now you will get first as a no argument constructor and then parameterized constructor, right? But what happened here? Our requirement is satisfied, but we have created two objects. One is this one and this is another object. Unnecessarily, why to allocate the memory for this object if we have this keyword, right? Always we need to optimize the memory. Always we need to learn how to reuse the code and optimize our code. Okay, that's the reason we will be removing this statement, because we don't want to allocate memory unnecessarily. We want to save the memory. Okay, so here you can just write this. When you are writing this, automatically it will, the call will go to current class no argument constructor, right? And then this statement will get printed, and after that this statement will get printed. But in this case only one object is created, which is k, that is required. Okay, so that's okay, we are allocating memory for one object. But now we have saved the memory here. If we save, execute the program, then also the same output we are going to get. See here, I am in k class no argument constructor and then parameterized constructor. But here we have achieved, we have optimized our code. Clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that was one point about this keyword. Okay, Now the one more question we have, that is, can we use both this and super in the same constructor or not? What do you think? Like whatever we have learned about the this keyword and super keyword, from that learning, can you just tell me, can we use this and super at a time in the same constructor or not? If we use, then why? If we are not able to use, then why do you think that we will not able to use this both the statements at once? Anyone want to go ahead? Yes. See, the answer for this question is yes or no. At least you can give one of them. Then we will discuss why.
No.
No? Okay. Other students?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now the next question. Why? Why do you think we cannot use both this and super in the same constructor?
Then because this keyword will call the current class constructor and super keyword will call the parent class constructor.
Okay.
They both are different. So
let's suppose I have one class. Okay, class A. Let me just open here the drawing mode. Okay, let's suppose I have the class here A. Okay, then I have one class B. This B class extend A class. Okay, inside this A class I have one constructor A. Inside this B class I have one constructor B. Okay, now let's suppose inside this B class I have one constructor B with one argument, right? Then from the main method I want to call this constructor. Okay, then I want to call the default constructor. From this default constructor, or let's suppose here I have the no argument, the parameterized constructor, and inside A class let's suppose I have one parameterized constructor. From this parameterized constructor I want to call the super class parameterized constructor. Okay, also from this constructor I want to call this default constructor. So to call the parameterized constructor of the parent class we need super keyword. Now to call this default constructor from the same class we need this keyword. Can't we use super and this at a time to fulfill this requirement? Are you clear with this requirement, whatever I have explained now?
yes.
Right, I want to call the parent class parameterized constructor, as well as I want to call the current class default constructor. Okay, now do you think we can use super and this at a time to achieve this requirement or not?
No ma'am. तर ते पहिलं कोणतं लिहायचं ते प्रॉब्लेम येईल.
Okay, why? Let's
कारण
suppose
सुपर कीवर्ड पण आधीच ठेवावं लागतं फर्स्ट सेंटेन्स आणि दिस कीवर्ड सुद्धा फर्स्ट सेंटेन्स असला पाहिजे.
okay, what other people are thinking? Dipali, Pitambari, Rutuja, what do you think? Nikunj is not able to say anything. I think he is facing some issue. So other people also, at least can contribute. What do you think?
दोन्हीचं पण वर्क सेमच आहे.
Yes. What? The work for super and this is same?
Yes ma'am.
Do you think so?
बट फक्त सुपर म्हणजे बेस क्लास मधल्या प्रॉपर्टीजला कॉल करतो.
See the main difference. First, let me correct you. Super and this is not same. Okay, the work of super and this is same, but difference is that super is meant for the inheritance. When you have or when you want to call the superclass method, superclass constructor or superclass instance variable, then you will be using the super. This you will use when you want to call current class method, current class constructor or current class instance variables. Okay. Now in the requirement, whatever I have explained you, in that requirement I want to call the superclass constructor as well as the current class default constructor, right? So do you think we can call super and this to fulfill this requirement or not? What do you think? Just think about the learning what we have achieved in last 2-3 sessions about this and super, and just try to answer the question. It may be wrong, it may be correct. What do you think?
येस मॅम, कारण आपण इथे सुपर विथ पॅरामीटराइज कन्स्ट्रक्ट म्हणजे सुपर विथ पॅरामीटर पास करणार आहोत आणि आपण दिस कीवर्ड यूज केलं ना तर ते डायरेक्ट करंट क्लास मधल्या कन्स्ट्रक्टरला कॉल करू.
Okay, so are you saying that we can write here maybe inside this constructor we can write here super and we can pass one parameter maybe 10, then we can write this without any parameter, so this super will call the super class constructor with parameter, and this without any parameter will call the current class no argument constructor. Are you saying this?
येस मॅम.
Okay, another one, Pitambari or Tuja, what do you think? I want all people should answer the question. Are you there?
येस मॅम.
Yes, can you try to answer the question? Let me open it.
Super keyword are used to invoke the parent class object, and this keyword are used to invoke the current class object.
Okay.
So
Now can you just tell me? That's okay, you have perfectly said that super is used to invoke the parent class constructor method or maybe variable, and this is used to call or invoke the current class method constructor or variables. Okay, now from that, do you think can we use this and super in the same constructor or not, like this? What do you think? Yes or no? First answer me yes or no, then I will ask you another question. If you are saying yes, then why? If you are saying no, then why? What do you think? Whatever in your mind, just say no or yes. Hello, you need to answer. Rutuja,
yes ma'am.
what do you think?
Cannot use both in same constructor
Why?
because of super keyword are used for calling the parent class object or constructors, and this keyword are used to call the default constructor.
Yes, so requirement is also same, right? I want to call the parameterized constructor of the parent class, so I have written super with one argument. Then I want to call the default constructor of current class, that's the reason I have written this. What do you think now? Okay, Pitambari, what do you think? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No. Why? Explain why. You need to be talkative in the class. Okay, you have to contribute, then only you will able to learn more. If you just keep quiet, then maybe you will not able to learn that much faster. Okay, when you talk, then you will remember whatever you are saying. Okay, whenever I am asking the question, at least in your mind you are just constructing, you are thinking what should be the answer, why should be the answer, at least you are trying to think. And I just want that, like, you at least think about the question and try to construct the answer. Okay, see, exactly the same situation will be there in the interview. Interview is nothing but the same thing whatever we are doing now. They will just give you the question, they will ask you, can you answer this? If you answer, they will just ask you the counter questions, like, why do you think so? If I do this way, then what will happen? If I do that way, what will happen? Can you just share your thoughts? This is exactly same as the interview. You just need to share your thoughts. Okay, it may be correct, it may be wrong, but the way of explanation is important. Okay, can you explain, Pitambari, now why do you think that it is not possible to use this and super in the same constructor? I have told you one statement in at the starting of this session only. Okay, which was pending for the super. Anyone remember that statement? What we have explained in the, like, first thing we have started with that concept only. Anyone remember?
मॅम सुपर कीवर्ड कन्स्ट्रक्टर मध्ये फर्स्ट लाईन मध्ये असायला पाहिजे.
Perfect, right? So I just
कीवर्ड
want
पण फर्स्ट लाईन मध्ये असायला पाहिजे, त्यामुळे आपण हे यूज करू शकत नाही.
understood now.
Yes, ma'am.
That was the answer I was expecting from you, all of you. Okay, that, see, this is a very famous question. They will ask you, can we use this and super in the same constructor or not? Your answer should be no. Why? Because super should be always the first statement in your constructor. Okay, and this also should be always the first statement in your constructor. If you try to write the super or this anywhere else, then it will give you the error. Even we have seen the error also in the initial class, right? At first point only we have covered that the super should be first statement in the constructor. If you are writing somewhere else, the compile time error will come. See here, let's suppose, let me just remove this one. Here, let's suppose this k is the parameterized constructor. Here we have used this keyword. Okay, so if you try to write this keyword as a second line, see here, automatically compile time error will come. And what it is saying, call to this must be the first statement in constructor body. Okay, now let's suppose you are writing here super. See, same error will come. Call to super must be the first statement in the constructor body. Means that at a time you can use super or this. You cannot go beyond that. Right? You have to use at a time you can use super or this. If you try to use both, then it will give you the error. See here, let's suppose here I am trying to write super. That's okay, it will not give you the error because super should be first statement in the constructor body. This is our constructor body and this is our first statement. Now here you are trying to add this. See here, this will now complain. Why it is complaining? Because First position is for the super or this. So first position already occupied by super. So this keyword will not work. It is saying that first statement should be this, right? So at a time you can use super or this, not both at a time. Clear or not?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
If
Yes.
someone asks you this
Yes,
question in future, will you able to answer?
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Pitambari, understand?
मॅम एकदा सांगा ना परत.
See here. What I am trying to say is that the super and this. Okay, we have super keyword, we have this keyword. In the Java, super and this, both the statements should be first line in your constructor. See here. This super should always be first statement in the constructor. Okay, and if we remove the super and if we are adding this, then also this will be always the first statement in your constructor. Okay, question is that can we use super and this at a time in a constructor? At a time meaning is that can you use super and this in this constructor or not? See here, no. Answer is no. Why? Because this keyword should always be first statement and super keyword also should be first statement. So if you are adding something in this first line, then you cannot use super here. If you are adding here super, then you cannot use this here. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, clear.
Everyone?
Yes.
Nikunj? Is this clear? Hello? Okay. Perfect. Rutuja, clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, that was one question. Okay, this is very important. You just need to keep this in your mind. After this session, also you can note down why, or you can just note down this question also, and you can just note your points why you cannot use this and super in the same constructor. Okay, also when we started the class, I think I told you that for the class you should maintain one notebook. Okay, in that notebook, see, today we had 2 hour session. Okay, so now whatever first point we have discussed, that is, maybe you are not remember, you have not remember that point now. Okay, so whenever we are starting the session, at least in that notebook you can just keep a note of points. For example, today we have started with the super keyword revision, right? You can just mention first point we have discussed about the super keyword, then second point we have discussed about the this keyword. You can just note down we have discussed about the this keyword. Okay, then we have discussed this question. At least 3 points should be there in your notebook. Now once the session is done, you have to revise. Okay, what you have to revise? For the first point, super, you just need to think what we have learned about the super. Whatever you remember, you can just note down on that first point. What is super? Like why we use super? What was the places where we should use super? Okay. Whatever you have remember from the session, that you can note down by yourself. Then for the this keyword, whatever you remember from the session, after the session you can just note down all these things. Okay, in your word. If you are doing this way, then definitely you will not like forget the thing. Okay, and it will be very much easy for you to revise also in future. Are you following this way or not? I don't think so. Anyone following this way, or you are just attending the session then done, nothing more?
No, ma'am. Follow करत आहोत.
Okay, everyone. If you are not following, please maintain one notebook and maintain or just note down all the points whatever we have covered. Okay, maybe in some classes I just skip some points, right? I just tell you that maybe this point I will cover in the next class when we will discuss about the interface, maybe when we will discuss about this point, that point. You also should keep a note of that, so that in future if I forget to cover that point, you can tell me that you told in that class we will cover whenever we are discussing this point, but you have not covered, can you just repeat, right? So maybe there is chance I can forget the thing, but if you are maintaining in your notebook, then we can cover those points as well. If you are not following this, at least from today start to follow. Okay, okay, fine. So we are like out of time now. 10 to 12 was the session time, and we have covered pretty much about the super keyword and this keyword. Okay, now the homework for all of you is that you need to research and note down the differences between super and this keyword. Okay, then when we will start tomorrow's session, that time we will see what are the differences you have collected. I will ask each one of you to share what you have research about this and super. You need to just mention the differences. This keyword means this one, super keyword means this one. That is the difference between both of you. You have to cover all the differences. Okay, will you do that, everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So for today I think we can stop here. Okay, you just go home and practice whatever we have discussed about this and super. Also you can just note down the differences between super and this keyword. Tomorrow we will start with difference between this and super, and after that I will go for the next point. Okay, tomorrow also we will take the session on the same time, 10 to 12. So you all can join at 10 o'clock. Okay, so for today we can just stop here. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise we are good to close the call. No questions?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
मम्मी कसला वास यायलाय ग
कसला
ते रूमचा आपला रूम